Hello, this is Game Center Live, the weekly streaming show for NYU Game Center, which is a game design university program in New York City. I'm your host for today, Robert Yang. And joining us today, we have a really great show for you today. We have Sports Roundup with Gwenna and Tony. Later on in the show, we'll also have Doom Mods, or called WODs in the community, with Liz Ryerson. We'll also be looking at the news with Naomi Clark and Frank Lance. And we'll also be meeting a student as usual, student Chris Kindred. So we have a really great show with a big variety of different segments for you to look at. Let's start with some announcements first. So announcements. Playtest Thursday is running tonight still, 5:30 to 7 p.m. at 370 J Street, 6th floor. It's open to students and the public for anyone to come eat some free pizza and play test your games. Killer Queen 5v5 Fridays have also returned. 5v5 Fridays are a casual event run by Charles Pratt where anyone can come over and learn how to play Killer Queen as well as hang out with some of the best Killer Queen players in the world. And that happens every Friday at 7 p.m. in the 6th floor lounge down at 370 J Street. So if you want to know more information, talk to Charles Pratt or join the Killer Queen NYC Facebook group. GDC season is also rolling around, and if you are a student or an indie or someone who just doesn't have much money or connections, you should probably try to get to GDC for cheap. And the IGDA, or International Game Developer Association, is running a scholarship program where you can apply for a free GDC pass, as well as travel stipend money, as well as some cool networking events. And the deadline for the IGDA GDC Scholars Program is November 29th. So please visit igdafoundation.org to apply for that. Game Devs of Color Expo, which is a festival that runs every summer in New York City, also has their own GDC scholarship program intended for marginalized people and creatives of color. The scholarship application date for Game Devs of Color Expo's GDC scholarship is December 2nd. And for more information on that, please email gdocexpo@gmail.com for more info on that. And that's our morning announcements. As usual, please make sure you visit our website as well as visit our Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or whatever. And transitioning to our next segment, we're debuting a fun new segment today. We're going to learn about sports and think about sports news because sports are games too. And some people would even argue that sports are the best games. Ooh. Introducing Gwenna and Tony. Let's switch it off.
Hello. Are we on? Great. Yes. My name is Gwenna.
And I'm Tony. We're both admins here at the NYU Game Center.
And we believe that sports are the best games. So we're going to talk about some women's sports news.
Yeah.
Yes.
So first, we're going to tell you about the Sportswoman, which is a weekly-ish newsletter, email newsletter that we send out. So you can subscribe at bit.ly/the-sportswoman. The capitals are important, so don't forget those.
Yeah. And so is the punctuation. It has to be bit.ly/sportswoman.
No underscores.
And yeah, we send out like an email. We try to go weekly, but it's been a little less than weekly later with some updates and news and also our general thoughts and opinions on what's going on in women's sports.
Yeah, so some of our topics this week, the one that I'm most excited and totally devastated by is Sam Kerr. This is Sam Kerr. She's a professional soccer player. I would say she's the best soccer player in the world.
Yes. And the bad news is she's leaving the American Soccer League, the NWSL, to go play in England for Chelsea FC, which totally stinks.
So
this
sad.
is such a bummer.
They officially announced this like Monday, and I think yesterday when I was just thinking about it, I almost cried at my desk.
Yeah, I almost like ordered an edible arrangement to Tony's office to deal with the loss of Sam Kerr in America.
Really sad.
It was really bad. This is a bummer. So Sam Kerr this year in the NWSL scored 18 goals, which is the most anyone's ever scored in an NWSL season. It was 6 more than the person who scored the next best amount of goals.
It's Frozen. Camera feed's Frozen. Sorry.
Look at your face, Tony. It's really good.
So sad. I'm really sad about this loss.
Try to deactivate and activate. Yeah. Okay, but keep going. There's so much going on.
All right, great.
So she's super good. She was the MVP and
3 years in a row. This was her 3rd year winning MVP for the NWSL.
Yeah.
And then last year she, in the Women's World Cup, she had 5 goals and was almost the Golden Boot winner despite being out for most of the tournament.
Yeah. So you might be wondering to yourself, why would you ever leave America to go play soccer elsewhere?
In a team that doesn't have an established record.
Yeah.
They're not like a great team or anything.
The answer is that the NWSL doesn't pay a lot of money. So they're not very competitive with the rest of the world. And they did just change their pay structure this year. So now they can pay players. They have a new salary cap of up to maximum salary of $50,000 per player and $650,000 per team. And they have a new thing where they can offer players up to $300,000 for players like Sam Kerr that they'd want to keep. But that would still mean that if they gave her a 3-year contract, she'd be getting about $1 million, which is probably way less than what she's getting.
Probably like less than half. I saw somewhere online that the people are guessing she was making. It's a 2-year contract for $2 million. So, yeah, the NWSL just like can't compete with those dollars.
So, if anyone watching works at the NWSL, you gotta fork up the money. We gotta get some sponsors.
Yeah.
If anyone from a big company
wants a sponsor.
We got the CEO of Swatch Watches watching. You gotta sponsor the NWSL.
Is that all of our soccer?
Yeah, I think that's all soccer.
Wait, there's one more. There's a new team joining the NWSL, a new expansion team. So the Louisville Proof, you can see they're
Proof Louisville. I think it's Proof Louisville.
Proof Louisville FC.
Louisville, Kentucky, yeah. She's an interesting choice, but I think they're going after, there's like a really good college team in Louisville, so they're like following the good college market into Louisville.
But we think that they should be expanding elsewhere.
Yeah.
We each have different opinions on where the next expansion team, which there's rumors to be one more.
Yeah, I think it should be in LA. I think LA needs a good women's soccer team.
I think that's a good call, but I think my vote would be for Denver. Similarly, there's like a men's team there, and also I think Colorado's the best place, and there's great soccer there. Good place for lesbians.
A lot of good reasons.
Perfect for the next team.
Yeah, but I do like the name Proof Louisville. It's so weird.
I think it's so weird.
Yeah, I think it's named after bourbon, which is funny.
Maybe we can get like a liquor sponsorship.
Yeah. So they're following the seldom used Milwaukee Brewers model of alcohol-based team names. But yeah, I think that's all soccer news.
That's all soccer news.
All right.
Our next news is about
basketball.
This is the best clip.
Okay, so in basketball this week,
Tell me when you want to start.
Yeah,
Okay.
So in basketball this week, Team USA, the national basketball team of America, is going on a college tour to like ramp up support for the Olympics this year and to practice. So they're playing college teams, and for the first time since 1999, a college team beat Team USA, and that's thanks to Oregon, the University of Oregon, and Sabrina Unesco. So now we can play the clip. So this is Sabrina Unesco.
She's a senior at Oregon. She made that incredible shot. Yes!
Oh, she's so good.
Yeah,
So Sabrina
she's
Unesco
incredible.
leads the
NCAA.
NCAA in triple doubles, which means she scores double digits in 3 different stat categories, usually points, assists, and rebounds, which is extremely hard to do.
Yeah.
And
So she's the career high in the NCAA.
what's super cool about Sabrina Unesco for people that live in New York is she elected to stay in the NCAA one more year, play her senior year in Oregon, and now will be going into the WNBA draft this year. And New York has the #1 pick,
Yeah.
which means
So she hopefully and probably, knock on wood, wherever the wood is.
the wood is.
Will be playing here in New York next season. And also the Liberty just moved to Barclays. So they'll be playing just down the street from the Game Center.
Yeah. And
Season tickets are affordable.
yeah. Yeah, we're gonna be starting a supporters group for the Liberty.
Yeah, we don't have
we have a
the
name yet, so if anyone wants to join and pitch names, please get in touch.
Yeah, we'd love to like go watch some games with you.
Yeah, and if you're interested in watching more University of Oregon basketball, they play again this weekend on Saturday against a Texas team at like noon, and then they play the following Sunday against Syracuse, which should be a good game at 11 a.m. Yeah. All right. Next.
Okay, that's the. Oh yeah, you can scroll down.
Oh yeah, this is just who they were playing against. So it's crazy. This is like
these college kids like
we're beating the
world-class.
world class WNBA players. So like people like Sue Bird, the rookie of the year this year,
Shields.
Nafisa Collier.
Yeah, these are all like incredible
WNBA players that this college team just smoked.
Yeah, it's sort of funny, but also sort of sad. Okay.
Cool.
Our last category of sports that we're going to be talking about today is professional running.
The New York Times has been doing this pretty cool series about different runners and women runners and sort of the challenges that they're running up against, trying to keep a professional career in running. It's by the woman named Lindsay Krause. She's doing a really cool series that's been happening since March about different
professional
runners. So this is the first one, I believe.
Yeah, I think this was the first one that she put out, and this is a story about Alyssa Montano, who is an Olympian who decided that she wanted to become a mother, and how that impacted her sponsorship with Nike.
Yeah. It affected her sponsorship with Nike. It affected her relationship with the Olympic Committee, and so they made this video that was like pretty smart because they shot it like a lot of the like Nike Dream Crazy ads that they were doing, but it was about like her dreaming to be a mother and how Nike's cheering that.
Yeah, so it's like super interesting to see Nike, especially like after the World Cup, and like through the WNBA finals, putting out all these commercials about like girl athletes are super cool. You can do anything you want to do. Meanwhile, Nike is like threatening to take away the athletes that they sponsors money or insurance if they get pregnant or don't perform as well as they were pre-pregnancy, which is really a bad practice.
Yeah, it seems sort of part of a pattern of like lip service from Nike on women's sports, where they're doing a lot of cool things like stepping up and making cool jerseys for the World Cup, and then not actually following through with some super important stuff that women need in playing sports.
Yeah.
And would be good for all athletes in general if this is in both of all genders, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, let's see. There's that story.
There's this story about Sarah Hall. So this one is also sort of relevant to recent news in New York. Sarah Hall is a world-class marathoner from America. She's one of the best American marathoners. And she has this practice that's super uncommon where she just runs a ton of marathons back to back. So she ran Berlin Marathon just a couple of weeks ago, and then was going to run the New York Marathon again. And New York Times did a piece on her about how she's like doing all these races back to back, and that's super uncommon. And then she ended up dropping out of the New York Marathon. Which is a bummer, but I think it's cool because the piece is about her sort of like listening to her body and her talking about how she knows her body really well, and that's how she knows it's okay to do this. And then when in the marathon, New York Marathon, when she like dropped out, she was like, listening to her body. So I think it's like
good practice.
Cool, yeah, good practice and a good thing to think about in terms of a lot of these like the machismo around sports and about like pushing your body to the limit till you're like bleeding everywhere, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, is this the same one?
No,
this is a different one. Yeah, so this is another more recent.
Author.
Yeah.
I guess like female athletes started reaching out to Lindsay Krause, who's at the New York Times, to like share their stories with Nike. So this one's interesting. This Mary Kane was like a 17-year-old like elite athlete, like one of the best runners, and she joined Project Oregon, which is like at University of Oregon, and I guess all of her coaches and teammates and trainers were male, and they kept telling her lose weight, and it led to her she stopped having her period, and she lost a ton of weight, and she started breaking bones. So she broke 5 bones because she wasn't getting enough calcium. And it was this whole story. I mean, you should read this article for sure. About how there are different standards of care for women who are competing in these sports. And we can't just base the women's models off of what already exists for men's sports.
Yeah, exactly. It's just lack of awareness about how different all bodies are, and that there's not a one size fits all model for just one soccer
runners.
coach. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's super interesting. Also a total bummer, but hopefully a step in the right direction for all parties involved.
Yeah, they shut down Project Oregon, so hopefully there'll be more accountability and better practices going forward. We're ending on a bad note.
A bummer note.
But wait, okay, I have a good note, a sort of good note. I guess it's sort of hard to say it's a good note after saying Nike sucks. But they just made Sabrina Unesco jerseys.
Yeah, so they finally made jerseys for Sabrina Unesco after I guess there was a lot of demand for it, and they sold out immediately.
Yeah. People want. There we go. People want to rep women athletes, so we should have more of their merch. Which is a weird capitalist thing to say, but it's true.
So yeah, you heard it here. NYU supports you going out and buying University of Oregon merch. All right, I think that's it. Cool. Thanks. Watch women's sports.
Watch women's sports. Sign up for the Sportswoman.
To swap over, do you want to switch the scene? We're going to swap over to a new segment with Liz Ryerson. Liz, you want to come over here and sit right here?
Use this ball as a prop.
Yeah, you can use the ball. You can do whatever you like. Let me just get this started, though. So, yes. So just snap it. Yes. Oops. Sorry, I touched the mic. Yeah, snap it to your collar.
1 second.
Sorry, we're not professional. We don't have people who can run in and do all the hair and makeup and mic stuff.
You're still more professional than a lot of Twitch streams.
Oh, thank you. I think. Okay, are we good? Okay, so now I'll turn it on.
Do I come out? Is the sound okay with me? I don't know if it's...
Yeah, I think it looks like we're reading you on the monitor.
Oh, wow, I can see myself.
So Liz, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what your involvement with Doom and what we're about to look at?
Yeah. Today? Okay. So this is I just picked a random Doom level that I like. I've actually streamed this one before. So I wrote this piece a while back in Waypoint on Vice, now Vice Games, about a Doom mod called Alt, A-L-T, whatever you want to call it. It's Russian. It's but there's kind of a story to it. And the design is very kind of abstract, narrative focused, but narrative through the lens of, a video, a Doom level. And to what extent can you make a Doom level reflect a narrative? And this set is called this map is from a set called Sacrament, which is previous to.
Can you switch? Thank you.
Yeah, it's previous to. Alt, it's the one right before it, and this is by one of the designers, who is the primary designer in that. And I've actually streamed this before, but I think it's a good illustration, and it will be kind of dark, so hopefully it comes up okay.
We can boost it up. We can boost up the...
Yeah, it's a pretty dark level, unfortunately. I just thought about that, but it's the level's called Wood Prison, and it's not necessarily the best level by this person, but I think it's a good reflection of kind of a narrative ideas. I think that's probably okay. Being reflected in the design of a Doom level. So we can go ahead and get started if you want. Yeah, Hurt Me Plenty is fine. It's map 10. Do you know how to console?
I type in map 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's this one.
Okay.
It's gonna be pretty dark, so...
Should I be playing it or should you be playing it?
I can play it.
I'm not good at Doom.
Alright, so this is like, alright, let me make sure I have everything. Okay, so in Doom, obviously you have a bunch of different weapons. This is like, in this particular mod called Sacrament, there's different sprites for the weapons, but it's the same weapons. You have a pistol and a shotgun, and these are the two things I picked up so far. You can see an interesting thing about this map already is that the exit is right behind you. I always like that kind of trope in mapping, and you know, there are a lot of doors in this map. You can see like, this is something that is done a lot in more contemporary Doom maps where there's like detailing that's done on the walls here.
Oh yeah, these like weird glowy, there's like goo, lava, what is it?
It's the texture's called Fire Blue. It actually oftentimes screws up Twitch streams, so if you get compression errors, that's why.
Awesome.
It's just part of Fire Blue's charm. But, you know, this suggests that, like, hell is breaking through, all that kind of stuff. People do details in the walls. These are just, like, sectors. You can see just a few sectors there to, like, add that detail. And this wall is, like, very dark. So, yeah, and then there's this door I can't open. Presumably it's where I start the map from.
E or space should open things. Oh, wait.
No, I can't open this door.
Unopenable. It's a fake door.
So there are a lot of doors in this that, like... There are a lot of places in this map where there are doors that you presumably should be able to open, but you can't open, but your way through is a different way. So this map is called Wood Prison, but it looks kind of like a cathedral, which I also think is maybe like suggesting that the church is a prison or something. Oh yeah, okay, there we go. So I activated that switch. This is pretty light on combat, thankfully, for the sake, which is part of the reason I picked this particular map for the stream. Some people actually criticize this set a lot for the combat not being particularly difficult. Even if I played on Ultra Violence, it's not particularly difficult.
So for people who aren't super familiar with like the Doom WAD scene and stuff, like, like what are we... Like, what are we looking at? What are, like, some trends that you see in Doom WADs and stuff? How should we understand what we're looking at?
The context of it? Yeah. Okay, so here's another example of a door that I can't open that looks like a door, but I can go through this very weird diagonal...
Oh, yeah, that's really weird.
area, which is actually a very crucial, important area, more so than anywhere else that looks more important, which is interesting. Anyway, Doom modding has gone on since, like, you know, like so whenever the original Doom came out, and there's been many iterations. A lot of this stuff is preserved on a website called, archive called id Games Archive. See, this area looks pretty important here, in terms of, I'm getting shot at too, so I'm gonna run up here. But, I mean, there's been many different phases of, like, Doom modding in the Doom modding community. There's, like, a few different websites that are a hub, that have been hubs for, you know, like, the late 90s, probably. There's doomworld.com, and then there's zdoom.org. And zdoom is, like, a source port. gzdoom is, like, the main source port, which we're playing in right now. And gzdoom, you can do a lot of crazy extra features and all that. So there are some... sets that stick mainly to the original like feel and look of the game, and then there are some that try and add like lots of crazy features. This is, I guess, somewhere in between in that it's mostly like the vanilla stock Doom things with a few more extra textures, and the design sensibility is different. So those are Mancubi. It's pretty easy to avoid things in this map because it's big and wide open. Normally, you know, you'd be walking in like a more cramped space or whatever. I'm trying to get to the more interesting bits of this map. So this is an area that seems crucial, right? Because like it's labeled with this texture, this like green marble texture here, but nothing really happens when I go up here.
And there's like a lot of nice details. It's like a nice little spa area or something.
Oh, there is actually this switch here, which might have done something. The progression of this map is very, very cryptic. Yeah, you can imagine them as functioning like as a spa or something like that. Here's another place where it's like, I should be able to go here, but no, the door is closed. None of the doors seem to work in this map.
Why do you think they did that? Why did they put all these fake doors to fake everyone out?
I don't know. I think it's like, I like the idea in this that like, oh, here's another really weird. This isn't actually an area right here. These like diagonal stairs right here. You can walk up this. And I think that's actually an important area too. And here, going down here will drop you down into a pit, and it's dark, so I can't. Oh, well, I already fell down into the pit. I like the lighting here, by the way. So Doom. Oh my gosh, they gave me a BFG or the equivalent of a BFG. I'm gonna save. Save the game. So this is a good example of like the sector lighting in Doom, by the way. They have a little candle here that's like
Oh, it's a very bright candle. It's a floodlight candle.
It's a floodlight candle, which, you know, it's part of the charm of this whole thing. But yeah, this is the one part of the room I can really see here. Oh, and I got the shotgun. So I fell down into this room, but here I'm climbing up some. Oh, fuck, what's happening? Okay. And some things are happening. There's a secret here that I can tell that I need to access through this eye. I can see a megasphere out here.
Okay, so because there was a window into another room with an item that's showing you that you can get there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And here I'm stuck in this pit. There is a way out of this pit. I just can't remember how to get out of it because it's dark. Let's see. I should have played this through before.
So yeah, folks are wondering what WAD we're playing.
It's called Sacrament. It's from 2011. So here's a good example of, this is the auto map. So I can bring this up to look at where I'm going. If things are too dark, and I do actually really need this right now. So I can't go here because that's going into that room. All right. Wait, okay, this is the pit that I fell into, I see. And I think I can go out this way. Oh my god, I died.
No, I think you died.
I saved.
Okay, good. Is it too dark? Should we turn up brightness more?
Yeah, this particular map is very dark, so that's kind of...
So it wouldn't even help? Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily help.
Wow, the map is so complicated though.
Yeah, a lot of these contemporary maps are very complicated.
It's like huge.
Oh my god. I need to actually look what I'm doing. Okay. So I wanted to show off a few areas when we get to them. I can always just skip ahead to them if need be too, so it's not a big deal. This map isn't like super hard. It's just dark. All right, here we go. So I want to go up here, I think. Okay, maybe I can go this way. Oh, here we go. All right, so we're back out here now. So you see that just teleported me to a random place. That's kind of strange. I want to show this area. I like this. So this is like, there's these like underhanging things. I'm also going to save so I don't end up back at that pit. There's these underhanging things that are sort of preventing me from getting into this area, but I can sort of force my way in, I think. Or no, I might actually have to lower these.
Wait, they're like bars that are like moving up and down?
No, they're not moving up and down. They're just like kind of alternated so that it's hard to actually, so I can't get through there. So I need to do something in order to be able to unlock that. So we're going to go over to this other area over here. If I don't get killed. So this is a very strange little upstairs, and it seems like a very kind of side area. But here we have, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have picked such a dark map. Okay. I could always cheat. I could always cheat and actually do, oh, I won't do it, but there's a full bright thing that you can cheat.
We can do whatever you like.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Well, I might turn on invincibility at some point, because this map isn't that hard anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can also do this if you're lazy, and so pro tip to Doom and GZ Doom is you can just resurrect yourself in the console, or you can do this, and that'll kill whatever monsters ahead of you.
Oh.
MDK, murder, death, kill. So you see these like upside down crosses because it's Doom. Like people do the whole Satan thing.
Right, it's very goth. Very.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I like
you have
this
to kill
view.
the spider robot.
Yeah, this view into the spider robot's like peeking out to me.
But he's not hurting
here.
it. Oh no, he is hurting
Yeah,
it.
I had stun locked him here.
Okay.
So I like these really, really imposing
Oh
tall
wait, can we
structures.
stop here and look at the view for a
Yeah,
little bit?
yeah.
Yeah, this is really pretty. Like a
There's-
very deep blue.
Yeah, we got this deep blue moon, which is all the levels in this set have this, or most of them have this deep blue moon. And then we have these like really, really high walls in this that are kind of meant to be very imposing. You feel like you're wandering in this like massive structure, which I really like about this map. And you saw at the beginning, like certain walls lowered in order to get to the section that we're at. So we're just like lowering these walls, but entering through these kind of obscure areas in order to get to that, to do that. And there's these kind of like weird logic to, you know, like certain areas like look kind of strange or they're detailed in a strange way that that's kind of our way through. And see, now this like bar has been lowered here. And there's a, here is like an outside area, so I've kind of escaped outside of the confines of the prison or whatever. And we have these like hanging like bodies and things going on over here, which is, you know, very much a Doom thing, is random hanging bodies
Oh
everywhere.
my god.
Oh my gosh, okay. I'm gonna pick up more ammo here, so. Oh,
Wait,
here's
what's
a-
that gun? I've never seen that gun before.
Oh, this is a sprite change for the BFG.
Ah.
So I picked up the BFG in that pit. So this is like some kind of graveyard, and I'm being shot at.
So what's this map pack's like reputation in the Doom community?
I
Do
think
people
it's-
think of it as like a masterpiece or really good?
Some
or is
people,
it...
I think people think of certain maps as being particularly really good, and other maps as not. I think the Russian Doom community is really interesting to me, and I don't want to like, you know, like overstate some things or, you know, like act in a certain way about it. So you see here now, I fell down, I can't go back up there. So in order to get back up to these places, I have to teleport. But you see also that like, there's these teleports here, which are
Yeah,
near...
those pads, right?
Yeah, this will teleport me to
Oh.
near where the key is here, so I need to go through those teleports. So it's actually kind of like, see, this is a point of no return, so I have to fall down there. But what I also find interesting about, you see all these teleports here, and then there's one that's like very far on this end over here.
Secret one.
And it's mistextured deliberately, and it's a secret, yeah. And so this puts us back into the secret room that we were just looking at before.
Oh wow.
And
why did they do it like that?
Just because it's, I don't know, it's an interesting way into the room. And then you see this teleporter raised here, and it's like, they're using like a red texture to point that teleporter out. So this is on the other side of the room that we were in earlier, and now it teleports me back here. So we're right outside where we were before, but I need to go back here because I actually need to pick up that blue key.
Looks like people in the chat are discussing your article that you wrote for Vice.
Yeah.
About Doom once.
It's about one particular Doom mod called Alt. But this is the same author that is in a lot of the alt maps. His name is Azamail. A lot of people go by their, you know, pseudonyms instead of using real names. So yeah, it teleports me back here. And interestingly, it teleports me to where this exit area is, and I can see that the blue key is going to be needed to exit right here. So it's teleporting me back to this beginning section. But this kind of obscure to the side area, I think is where I actually need to go here, not this big room, but I am going to pick up that ammo. From what I recall, anyway. Oh, okay, I need the red key, so not yet. Doom is a game where you have to pick up certain keys. I mean, like, the key thing is like, you know, I think it is like a kind of charmingly, what would you call it? Outdated kind of game
Quaint?
mechanic, quaint.
Charming.
But it, I don't know. I think designers find creative ways around the whole key situation. Oh my god, where are we going in here?
I mean, or the level can just be about something else, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so this author you were talking about, who's also made the alt map pack, Like,
Or
what's
a lot of maps in
or
it.
a lot of maps in it.
Like a majority of the maps in it.
What's
yeah.
their like signature design style? Like, do the alt maps look kind of like this too?
Yeah, a different like there's different approaches and ideas, but yeah, there's a lot of very kind of abstract, a lot of like kind of the way that you progress through things are a little strange or unusual. It's kind of fun. It's kind of humorous or satirical like elements almost that I don't know how to exactly describe that. I don't think I can go anywhere here. I think this was actually just a dead end. Oh, that was a secret, but I didn't really need that secret. All right. So yeah, that was just a dead end, unfortunately. So we'll go back here. I can always like clip through areas too. So right now I'm still trying to find the red key. So I haven't gone over here actually. So let's do that. There's like these like these little like I find them kind of funny. Just like these little ground dirt like lumps that you can
They're
run
like
up
little
and run
like
down.
pyramids or something?
Yeah. They're just there to be a little geometry that you can run up and run down. I love this opening door effect, by the way. So this is like a central cathedral part of the map. You can see the detail is more here, and it's more like lit. So that contrast is interesting. I love that.
Yeah. Oh.
So there's more actual combat here, so I might actually have to pay attention.
Look at all that fire blue.
Yeah.
That's how you know this area is so important.
There was a set. I'm gonna just use Resurrect here. There's a set where in the Doom community that they designed where they could only use 2 textures, and it was the 2 like textures that everybody considers the worst, which are fire blue and one that was called gray tall, which is just like gray texture with this weird ugly red stripe. And it's called 50 Shades of Gray Tall.
Oh.
And all the maps are designed that way. You see, this is like designed like a portal. These guys are actually coming out.
All the monsters are coming out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I could actually walk through this wall, but it damages me, which is interesting. Like, there's nothing actually there. It's just this like weird, fleshy, like amorphous damaging space. So they use like kind of a walk-through wall here. And this one. Oh my god, I spit all over the...
Okay.
This one I think is interesting here because it's like...
Oh, that's brick.
It's brick.
Why
it's
is
like,
that one bricked up?
It's like this one is just bricked up for some reason. I don't know why, but there's maybe a narrative reason or something.
We don't like that monster dimension.
Yeah,
These
but
other monster dimensions
for some
are
reason
okay.
that one is broken or it's bricked up like intentionally. And like I like that it's not really explained, but there are narrative elements that are suggested at nonetheless with that design. This isn't like necessarily considered like the prettiest Doom map, and some of these details are a little weird or idiosyncratic, but I personally like that. That's more my speed. These guys are still coming out. I think at some point I'll be able to...
Do you have to just keep killing them and then something will open?
I think I can get a key. I think hitting that switch actually did something for me. That's
okay.
Another like great thing about Doom is that you hit switches and you don't know what actually they did. That's another problem with Doom, unfortunately. If you're really good map designers who are creative can design maps so where they instruct you, where you need to go for a specific area, to move on to a specific thing. So I think this ended up unlocking something for me. Guys are still coming.
So this is meant to be a little bit confusing and awkward on purpose, right?
I think so, personally, yeah. This map I don't usually have a hard time with. It's just one of those things where you have to explore each element, and it is a pretty dark map, so. There's a whole other area over here that I kind of don't want to go to, but because it's just like a maze. But there's just a wall right here that goes up to an entirely separate area. And instead of giving you like a light amplification, which is a power-up in Doom, because Doom is a dark game, it gives you a radiation suit, which I find interesting because it makes things slightly brighter, but not completely brighter.
Oh.
And it's like and that part feels like an actual prison, but it's like this obscure side room that ends up kind of going off into its own like digression that is really here it is. It's up here.
I
Into
didn't
this
even see
own,
that.
like,
Oh, it's secret.
yeah. But anyway, I'll if I need to go back there, I'll go back there. But just gonna fight. Oh yeah, here's the red key. So I activated the red key. Now you see the water changed to slime. I don't. Oh yeah, that was stupid of me. Of course,
There's a trap.
it was a crushing ceiling, which is a very Doom thing to do. So I just ran out of here, and do I have any? Okay, they killed each other. I was not paying attention, so I got killed, but that's okay. I'm cheating for the sake of this. Like I said, this map isn't very hard for the sake of Doom. It's more of an exploration type map. I think actually the difficulty got quote unquote nerfed intentionally, which some people didn't like.
Wait, people in the Doom community complained it was too hard?
No, too easy.
Oh, too easy.
People in the Doom community, this is another trend as far as like Doom community trends. How much time do we have left?
We have like 20 more minutes.
Okay. As far as Doom community trends go, there's one things that are called slaughter maps, where the focus is on like intense combat and lots of it. And then there are other things that are called. Oh, here's another area. There's like, we have the like mud falls, the
my
mud.
God.
Yeah, there's like different.
Oh, those are like human chandeliers.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They're like human. That's a sprite in Doom.
Oh my goodness.
There's another place where you can pick up this. And actually, this is a little pit here, so I'm gonna have to go to that teleporter to be able to get out of that pit. But I'm actually also gonna pick up that because that gives me 100 health.
Oh, it's just like a very small little shallow pit.
Yeah, but you can't get out of it. I just like that little feature. I don't know why. So we're gonna go back to that obscure room over here, so that we can open that. So I think this map starts to open up a little bit, which is interesting. I'm gonna. Sorry, there's a streamer or a guy in the Doom community who played Doom stuff, and like whenever he was down to 1% health, he'd always save the game, which is like the horrible idea, but it became like a meme of like 1% save the game.
Oh. Because that's how Doom is best enjoyed, when it's like you're about to die.
It's more of a joke, I think.
That you
it's just
wouldn't
like we're just
save
gonna
normally.
make it as hard on myself as possible and do this stupid thing as a joke. Yeah. Okay. So here I like if I can get to this area.
Oh, it's a little
here.
terrace. That's
Yeah.
nice. It's a little patio.
But yeah, so there's the Doom maps that are called slaughter maps that are more focused on combat, and like usually a lot of like large arenas. There's so many sets like that. There's one called Sunder, Dave's Vault. There's like tons of them, and they're quite popular. This is more kind of the artsy end of Doom, which is kind of my personal interest, but everyone has their own kind of interests. A lot of the Russian community that made this stuff is still around, though in different forms. God
bless those Russian modders.
Yeah, I like a lot of them. I talked to a few of them for that piece. I like the like castle features here with the different.
Oh yeah, all the like battlements and that's nice.
Moon. I like the progression here. You have to go a certain way in the progression, and that these are like doors that are gradually being unlocked, and these are like pressure plates here. Oh wait, let me. But you can't go back through. Oh, no, you can go back.
Kind of locks you in a little bit, or tries to trap you.
It's like you have to go through a certain.
Oh, you can ride the doors too.
Yeah, you can ride the doors, which is always a thing in Doom. They're just like moving platforms like anything else, and oftentimes when map designers are creative, maybe they would have like a secret up there or something. Oh
my god, look at all those dudes.
Yeah, they're low-level dudes, thankfully. But yeah, I like that little mini scenario of like you're unlocking. If you go in that pit, it'll just warp you back to the beginning of that sequence. and then I pick up so I can't go back this way, or can I? Yeah, see there's a brick wall here on the other side of this, so I have to go a certain way through it. So there'll be a teleporter here somewhere. Yeah. And I think I think I need to go through the center platform in order to get out of here. So there's like specific ways that you have to get out of the environment, which also is kind of a little interesting to me. Yeah, here we go. I have to go through this.
Okay.
And this teleports me to this like random place in between two rooms, but it's actually telling me where to go, basically, which I think is good. Although not like fully, but basically telling me where to go. Okay, so something opened up here. I need to actually pay attention for a second to tell what opened up here. Oh, that's like a little sound hole. You can tell. Sometimes they do sound holes in like levels so that monsters will hear you from other areas.
Oh, okay. Because sound propagates through the level.
Through open spaces. So yeah, that's sometimes.
So they put secret little holes so the sound can travel and then wake up the monsters and make them mad?
Yeah. Okay, so this opened this up. I love this outside area here. So this area is like of a completely different character. It's this like toxic cargo area.
Okay, so this is like a demonic cathedral cargo castle.
It's very dreamlike in terms of the progression, and suddenly the combat has gotten more difficult.
Yeah, there's like 100 dudes shooting stuff.
This is almost like more like a conventional Doom map right now. This is something that you would expect more from like if you were playing a Doom WAD, and all these like little places are going down and unlocking these guys, and I'm dying because I'm not playing very well. And so there's like different things over here. This lava hurts me quite a bit.
Oh, the camera's frozen again.
Oh no. Well, they can hear me at least. So I love this right here. So this is the exit door.
Oh,
normally.
That's the exit door texture.
It's the exit, but
so many exits.
But they just you can't open these normally. It's like a weird, I don't know. It's like some kind of ritual or something. And once again, we can't open any of these doors, but we can go through here. So the whole thing with this map that's consistent is that I don't think I've opened a single door. It's always been like going through a passageway, and then now all of a sudden we're in this tech area, which again may be more typical for a Doom map. So things went from this more kind of dark, abstract, wandery space to this like more like, you know, intense combat type encounter. Yeah, here we're more or less at the end of this map here. And yeah, okay, so we're on the other side of the exit, and all of a sudden it just pops a cyber demon out at you. But the cool thing with this map is, I don't know if I actually have to hit that switch. I think that's just a secret. I can just go on, and this is...
Oh, you don't even have to fight him?
Yeah, you don't even have to fight him. You can just run past, and this is where we started the map, and now we're at the exit.
Oh, yeah. And
I just hit that, and that's the end of the level.
Wow.
So anyway, this wood prison.
So we just played through the entire thing. What do you think, like, what's the big takeaway from it? Like that, like, what should we learn from it? Like, if there are any students watching, what level design tips should they be taking from it? What game design principles?
It's just really interesting how you progress through spaces. There's, like, first of all, you're in one setting where there's giant walls, giant features. There's the idea that you can only go through obscure passageways in order to get through. You can't go through normal doors. Mm-hmm. There's some kind of narrative going on there. And then it's kind of dark and things are being revealed as they go on. And then once you get to a certain point, the character kind of changes. And there's a character even of that specific room of these doors that go down. It's not like laid out in a normal way. Even when you get teleported, you don't get teleported in a traditional way. The exit is right behind you where you start. And then when you get to that area outside, there's a completely different character to that area. But each area has its own kind of identity in terms of like, it's like we're wandering through this giant prison. This setting is pretty well realized.
It's a wood prison.
It's a wood prison. But then you're in the toxic area, and that setting feels pretty well realized. And then you're in this weird surreal tech area, and so there's like a progression there of just, I don't know. It's just very unconventional, and there's like about 5 different ideas going on at once in the design, which I think is and it manages to pull it off and be so that if you're playing, it's obviously a dark map, but if you're playing within the course of the playing the level, you kind of will see these different parts of the level, and to where the game is like, even with the crypticness, it's still leading you through the level so that most people who are engaged with it enough can complete it. So that there's some degree of like kind of skill required to do that, but at the same time, it's not like really that hard. There's not like this huge barrier to entry to complete the level either. So I think just the balance between the amount of different places that it's taking you and how easy it is to complete, and how many different kind of features and things that are represented in one map, I think is what's really interesting to me about it.
Like the accumulation of all these things creates this very like, surreal effect.
These details that are kind of don't really make sense in a logical way, but kind of add to the feeling of like, wow, this is weird. And it's unpredictable. It's unpredictable, you don't know necessarily where you're going, but once you go through it, it somehow makes sense. Like it still doesn't feel like it's completely random what you did. So yeah, I find that interesting, and that's what like alt as a set is basically that. Is a lot of it's just a different way of progressing through this space, and I compared it to when I wrote that piece on Vice. I compared it to like the movie Stalker or the novel Roadside Picnic, and the idea is that there's this space called the zone, which is like normal laws of how you would progress through the space don't apply. Like something horrible will happen to you if you don't know how to move through the zone in the correct way, if you don't follow the rules of the zone. But no one out there is telling you what the rules of the zone are. So there are specialized people who that's their role to tell you how to move through that space.
Right, the stalkers.
The stalkers, yeah. And that's the story of Roadside Picnic, and also the movie Stalker. There's also the game Stalker, which is kind of very, very loosely based off that idea. But I think of that design as being sort of that space where it's like you kind of have to throw that normal expectations about how you're supposed to progress out the window and kind of work within the logic of the environment, what the environment is presenting you with. And then once you do, you start to see kind of more possibilities and stuff that exist, or you notice more things that maybe you wouldn't notice otherwise. Because I think a thing with a lot of Doom, I like playing a lot of Doom maps, but they do, I mean, it's like any other modding community, they do fall into trends. People detail things a certain way. After a certain point, you play stuff and it just doesn't look like anything. It's just like, or, you know, you'll be in a cave and you're wandering around the cave, but the cave will look like a hall, it's a tech hallway because they have the same shape of layout or something. Right. People don't, I mean, and the Doom community has actually gotten a lot better about that kind of stuff. Having that so that it doesn't feel like this is the exact opposite of something that feels like it was designed from a template. And I think that was the main thing. And when, you know, level design as a art or whatever is something that like in the indie game world isn't necessarily like emphasized as much. I think that's starting to change a little bit with games like Dusk or a Medieval or things like that, which are like retro, you know, first-person shooter throwbacks, and really, especially with Dusk, or at least I've been told this, I've barely played it, is that the interesting thing is not so much even the mechanics past a certain point, but the way the designer takes that and goes into a weird direction with all those ideas. And the fact that there isn't a consistent I mean, there's a consistent logic that keeps you grounded, but that you also don't know exactly what to expect. Like, the game is kind of breaking its own rules to some extent, in order to kind of create some tension, make you a little bit more excited.
Well, we have a few more minutes before we go to the next segment. Do you want to like play another level for a little bit and talk about it,
okay. I wouldn't get to the most interesting part. I could just. This is a map that I played on my like Doom mixtape series, which is on YouTube, by the way.
My mouse dies sometimes.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
But it's back. It's back.
Okay. I'm just gonna turn on invincibility and no clipping so that I can show you parts of it, because it takes a while to like get to the
Oh
main
yeah, let's
section
just
of
fly
this
around
level.
and look at it.
Yep.
So yeah, show us your favorite parts.
So
Oh my god, this is it's so surreal.
Yeah, it is very surreal to look through this
to no
view.
clip.
I went the wrong way.
They
but
should make
this is-
games that are just no clipping.
That would be wonderful. That's actually a very interesting mechanical idea. So this whole setting, this is, again, is very dark, but this whole setting is like
the
this kind of
lava.
abandoned like I don't know exactly how to describe it. It has a very post-apocalyptic feeling with this like very dramatic lava. The music that plays in this map is really good. It's like I don't know what it's from.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have sound working.
It's fine.
On my laptop.
But then there's these central areas, and the whole point of this map is to unlock these bars on each side, so that and then you finally exit.
Wait,
there.
what are these spiky things?
Those are the bars.
No, the brown spiky things on the sand.
Oh, those are just little tree objects.
Oh.
They're just decorative
I
objects.
thought maybe it was like monster poop.
Oh,
or
that would
something.
be really funny.
Because like no one
like
cleans
Commander
up.
Keen or
That's
something.
like their litter box.
Yeah, that would be funny. So yeah, there's just these different side areas, and here's like one.
It's very dark, like before, like pitch
yeah.
black stuff
It's
all
true.
over again.
Let
Oh
me-
my god, look at all those dudes.
Yeah, there's these just giant dramatic areas in this map. I can show one other thing real quick. I'll just id clip, and this is another map by Azamale, who designed the one that I was showing. And I'll just move to the. There's like some really cool scenic stuff going on in this map. You can see it right here. Look at this.
Oh, that's really pretty.
They have.
That's so unusual. Can you do that in vanilla Doom? That's like a new thing,
No,
right?
it's a limit removing like thing. But you see each of these like. So this is just this giant ravine. This map is called Seaport, and there's like a little ship here.
Oh, it's so little. It's like kitschy. It's like a little pirate cove, right?
Yeah, and then in this map there's a kind of extreme height difference to where you go like way up the and then come way down. Like you go really far up and then really far down in order to get to that area. This like stairs go really far down, and then eventually you get down here. And then there's this also. I love this like kind of comical elements of there's this lift up here, and this lift just like you wait there for like 30 seconds. It just like goes down for like 30 seconds, and then you get on the lift, and then you wait there.
Oh, so you like hear the sound of it moving down,
and you just
down.
watch it moving down, and then outside it's like super bright, and it looks almost like kitschy.
Slow elevator, a good slow elevator in a game is
Yeah.
like a treasure.
It's really funny too because you're waiting. You never expect to wait that long for an elevator, and the only way that you wait that long is if this is like way higher up on the map than the rest. And then you go outside, and like a lot of these maps have been really dark, and this is almost like full bright here.
Oh yeah.
And it looks almost like kitschy in a way, but it works. And then yeah, you exit on these little ships. So there's like a narrative element. The exit is right there, which I really like.
Oh, you sail away on the ship.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, I really like the like narrative elements and stuff going on there.
Well, thank you so much for showing us Sacrament.
No problem.
Do you like stream or anything, or do your podcast? Do you want to like
I have
plug
a
it little
podcast.
bit?
Yeah, I have a podcast called The Blood Zone.
Blood Zone.
It's-
Sounds like a Doom level.
Yeah, exactly. It's not specifically just games, but I've also been trying to do movies and music as well. I had another podcast called Beyond the Filter where I had guests on and stuff. The Blood Zone is more like talking about specific pieces of art that I like, some obscure and some not. And yeah, I've been doing like playing through some Doom maps from the modding community, and putting them up on my YouTube occasionally. I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/ELLAGURO. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's ELLAGURO. But yeah, so I play through some of this stuff. I've been trying to make more Doom maps. There's a lot of stuff that's worth following in the Doom community. Check out doomworld.com. Yeah, definitely check out Sacrament and Alt, but also there's tons of other stuff if it interests you. And that Doom community is still very active, and there's even like jams and stuff like that. I'm not like, a super involved. I'm more of like an outside observer to some extent, but yeah, in any case.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem.
And maybe come back and show us some more Doom mods another week.
Or I could show you something else. I'm trying to think of... I could show you a weird art game
or
stuff
anything
too.
you like. All right, let's change to our next segment.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Liz, again. Let's turn that off. And let's now coming up is news with Naomi and Frank. So let's change over. It is.
All right. Are we live, hopefully? Hey, everybody.
Welcome to Drive Time.
Yeah, so
What's up, chat?
this is a segment where we just go through a bunch of links to news articles. So I guess, are we no longer calling this the discourse?
I think we are calling it the
Yeah,
discourse.
the discourse.
I think we are calling it that.
Like, what are people talking about this week?
Yeah.
First one up, Game Freak lied, the hashtag. There's a bunch of people who are just
People are so mad
about
Pokemon.
Yeah, this is the new Pokemon
Yeah.
Sword and Shield. A data leak suggests that they actually reused models from earlier Pokemon games.
The nerve! Can you imagine?
Well,
now, I always assumed that Pokemon was completely original. Every single one was all new Pokemon and all new characters and all new story. Is that true?
Well, yeah. Well, it's actually really the same story, but with the new characters.
Are they reusing like characters and ideas and gameplay?
Ideas? Yeah, no, it's just right. So, but here's why people are mad. There are over like 1,000 Pokemon at this point, right?
Yeah.
And there were some people who were expecting when Pokemon came to the Nintendo Switch that all 1,000 would be in it, or like at least a large number. And Game Freak told them like, look, we can't do that. That's just too many Pokemon. We would have to make so many models to do that. But then this data leak came out and people discovered, hey, that's the same Bulbasaur that was in the last Pokemon. So therefore, you guys didn't have to make any models. You could have just copied them all from earlier games. And so this is why people are mad. Of course, this is the problem. If you ever explain anything about a game development process, then as the game is being made, it will end up being untrue later on. Like so many things, right? Because so much stuff changes. Or you're explaining in shorthand. It's like why this thing works this way, and you didn't like explain everything in exhaustive detail because people wouldn't understand anyway. I think someone made a video once of like pronouncements that Gabe Newell or somebody had made about Valve games and tracking how many ended up being untrue. And it's like a surprisingly high percentage. So this is what developers get for like actually trying to explain stuff to people who. Well, here's the fan problem that people want Pokemon to be aging up with them.
So here's my take. So first, I refuse to dunk on the people who are complaining. Because listen, I don't play Pokemon, but I don't want to,
You never played any Pokemon?
I'm not a big Pokemon guy. But and also, consumer rights stuff is idiotic and the source of a lot of, stupid judgments in game fandom. However, if you are releasing a Pokemon game and you make the Pokemon fans mad, you messed up. You messed up, right? And now you got to own it. They messed up.
Who
right?
are the Pokemon fans, right?
I don't know.
To me, I think, from what I can see, the reason that Game Freak keeps doing the same formula is because they think of the fans as
kids who are in a certain age range.
Yeah.
And I know about this from working at Lego for years, right? It's actually a new set of kids.
Right, you got adult fans of Pokemon.
Right, exactly.
AFP.
This is what's happening. AFP.
Any AFP in the chat?
Yeah,
come on,
fans
shout it
of
out. Let's
Pokemon.
go. I know you're out there.
This is Frank's referring to this adult fans of Lego,
Right.
Which is AFOL is a term in that community.
Yeah.
And those people kind of understand, like, okay, a bunch of the Lego sets are being made for little kids, so we can't expect those to be catering to us.
Yeah.
But with Pokemon, you just have like one main release every so often.
Yeah.
So it has to be all things to all people.
I think they're the nerds who are mad about the level of detail pop in. It's not my thing. It's not my scene. I'm not mad about that.
Right.
But you know what? They kind of have a point. Let them get mad about it.
Sure.
Don't get mad at them getting mad. It's not like
Right.
let's
It's
not
like
perpetuate
the
this
cycle
weird
of
thing.
dunking.
Everyone's mad about everyone else being mad about a thing. Let those guys be mad.
Sure.
And then just move on with your life. You know what I mean? The thing I'm excited about is I'm seeing in this video that there's like a Pokemon that's like a badger that looks like Peter Criss from the band Kiss. That I might play Pokemon now.
Yeah.
That looks like a cool game.
There's so many Pokemon now that there's a Pokemon for every taste.
Yeah.
Here's
Even
my
me.
solution. We should really fork the series, maybe a whole new set of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon
Yeah,
games.
I thought this was a family stream, but if you, I mean,
Yeah,
it's up to you.
Fork
the series.
You know, like
fork Pokemon.
This is what Lego did, right? They were,
Yeah.
eventually, around the time when I was working there, they started to decide, wait, we could just make other products that were for these adult fans. And Game Freak could do that as well.
What kind of products are you
Products.
talking
Ooh,
about?
yeah, adult Pokemon products. Well,
That's
for
the
instance,
difference.
a suit that you can fit into as an
Okay.
adult.
Next topic. Next topic.
All right, this is still the same thing. There's a petition. Keep going.
Keep going. What do we got here?
Yeah. It's
it's
too many
good,
links.
it's good.
It's
so much
all,
fun.
there's a lot of coverage.
We're gonna do our own
Epic
separate show.
versus
It's all
Steam.
Pokemon.
You
Okay,
have
I don't
an
know.
opinion on this? Tim Sweeney
Okay.
versus Gabe Newell.
I mean, listen. All I know is that it's good for game designers. I think for there to basically be a seller's market.
yeah. Or
if you're
for there to be
making
any kind of choice at all.
Yeah, well, I just think that there's competition among these different channels,
Right.
including Apple, and I think that leads to opportunities for game designers. So as a game designer and someone who hangs out with game designers, I see the silver lining of this.
Right. Well, I think most independent developers do. I mean, above
Yeah.
a certain threshold. We can't ignore the fact that there are a bunch of people who are not getting Epic offers or anything like that. But yeah, the Apple and Epic are running around handing out bags of money to people right now.
Yeah.
So if you have like a polished enough game of a certain kind,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's hard to see that as bad for the developers. I guess the flip side, I think Bennett was trying to articulate this a while ago. He was saying like that he feels like there were some benefits in having Steam be the marketplace to rule them all. Maybe it was really just that he liked having his game collection all in one place, though.
Yeah, it seems like a small benefit. It's true. I get it. It's messy to have this idea of a collection and then that goes away.
Right.
But I think in general, it's probably good for players overall. Net. It's probably good for game designers overall.
Right.
Net. It's probably good for game design as a cultural form. I guess there's a lot to like about this current landscape
Sure.
of competing,
And it doesn't
platforms.
mean that any of these, it doesn't mean that any of these companies have to be good. Like Epic doesn't have to be a virtuous company or
No.
Valve. If you really want that, you could put your game on itch, and that's all.
Exactly.
Solid
No,
choice.
all of them are
But-
problematic in various
Yeah,
ways.
of
Like
course,
Apple
but
doesn't really
if
get
they're-
games.
If they're
still,
handing out money as an incentive to developers, then that's
it's
good for
providing
developers.
opportunities for people who might not be able to reach an audience otherwise, and that's good.
And most of the arguments about why independent developers shouldn't be able to choose they're a little bit rotten somewhere in the core. Like, how dare you try to buy market share? Like, it's called market share.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
It's pure capitalism.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is
Oh, I love this
an article I
Oh.
ran across with and was kind of blown away by. It's not directly related to games, but it definitely online advertising is a huge part of revenue for a lot of games,
Yep.
Including mobile games, games on the web, everything. And what this article is pointing out is that a lot of online advertising, you can't prove that it's actually doing anything at all. It's just money that's being poured down the toilet into the mouths of Mark Zuckerberg and who else is getting a lot of ad dollars? I guess Sundar Pichai, Google, right? And Yeah, and it's not actually doing what the people buying the advertising believe it is, which is to increase their market share or get people to buy stuff. The exception would be like if you come out with a game, like maybe one that's called Hey Robot.
For example.
And nobody knows that it exists.
On Kickstarter.
Yeah, and people are like, what? There's a game that you can play with an Alexa?
Or Google Home.
And then it puts that idea into their head.
Right.
That kind of advertising might have some benefit. But any kind of advertising for something that someone already knows about, whether it's a website or a store or a product that they know is coming out or the next iteration of something, it's like the online advertising does almost nothing.
We don't know. That was the point of this article.
Right.
And first of all, this article is amazing.
Yeah,
so
it's really
if you take anything away from today's discourse, it's go read this article.
Mm-hmm.
I am a huge fan of a kind of contemporary movement, and I know, Naomi, you and I have talked about this a little bit, this idea of meta-rationality, right? This idea that rational, logical, quantitative, analytical thinking is powerful and useful, but it's also limited and
it locks you into thinking in a certain way.
It has all of these problems with it, and also it's not a kind of universal global solution to like understanding the world and making good decisions and so on and so forth. So a meta-rational, this article is such a good example of meta-rationality in action. So the idea is that we have this new era of advertising, which is very quantitative. It's very analytical. It's very numerical. It's using these new abilities to track and quantify human behavior, and these techniques from economics and social science and psychology to kind of make a rational framework around what up until recently was a kind of emotional, nuanced, creative, like the Don Draper world of like, it's a basket of kisses. You know what I mean? Like it's a
pure intuition.
Just like poetry, right? And instead now we have this. But the point of this article is that this new era is mostly bullshit.
It's also bullshit. It's just bullshit with way more numbers.
And we're
opposed to feelings.
Right. We still have these stories we're telling, except now the story is the story of this new quantitative, rational, logical approach. But when you actually sit down and apply a kind of analytical thinking to this world, you discover it doesn't hold up.
Right. And so the question becomes, who do you want, which church are you going to go to? Where the priest is like a cool guy lounging in a chair smoking a cigarette, like as was the case in the old day world of advertising, or like a guy with a chart who's like, I can show you why the eigenvalue of the vector of this advertising is trending upwards. But they're both just kind of like telling you a story that's a religious story.
Yeah. And the point of this is not, and this is the whole point of meta-rationality, right? Is that you can't just say, well, I guess then there is no such thing as systematic, logical, rational thinking. No, it's that it's difficult. It's challenging. It requires a kind of nuanced, fluid approach, the ability to recognize that there's tons of this BS that science and logic and rationality kind of cloaks itself in, and yet you still have to make good judgments, right? You still have to be aware of your own, biases and tendencies. It's just that there's no simplistic global solution that's some turnkey thing that someone's going to come and be able to like solve all the problems just by applying this.
Of course, there are some business people and owners who I want the formula that gives me the answer, right? So there's always going to be an advantage for people who can claim to have that formula in one way or another. I think the really interesting thing, there's a couple really smart people in this article, right?
Yeah.
And they're mostly people who, like, the things that they're saying are kind of hard to understand for the other people in the article. They're like, this person, I don't know what they're saying, in part because they're sort of operating at one remove from everything, and they're saying, wait, I think we're all thinking about this wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we actually have to rotate this whole model 90 degrees, and then we see there's a giant hole in it.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what are you doing? How did you rotate that? Right? Because they're just breaking their brains. So that's what makes it a really good article.
And it's, the thing is that, like, we know that network effects are hugely important.
Yeah.
So it's not the case that, advertising doesn't do anything and never will and it can't, The point is that we don't understand how network effects work.
It's too complex.
It's very, very complex. We have some very simplistic models. It doesn't mean that because our models are limited and of limited use, it doesn't mean we could throw them away. You still have to think. You still have to use models to think, to make decisions. It's just that it's kind of encouraging a sort of humility. Right. It's encouraging an approach to this stuff which says, our models are limited. We need to use them, but we need to have a kind of modesty about what we can expect. We cannot have this overconfidence, and we cannot believe our own BS that we're using to get ourselves hired. Or else we're going to go down the rabbit hole of delusion.
What made me really mad about it was just sort of seeing, oh wait, this has become an endemic part of the culture of so many of these places. Yeah. That's actually really starts to stick and change things, change how people behave and act and make decisions at these huge, huge tech companies who are responsible for stewarding our online communities now. Yeah. And you complained a bunch about online communities, they used to have a bunch of principles, and now they're just these giant spaces. And I would think this article and the mindsets displayed in it are a huge part of what's changed between the 2000s and the 2010s, right? The rise of social media. So yeah, I would agree with you. It's definitely read this article, check it out. But also don't think that this means that advertising just doesn't work at all. I've seen some reactions to this saying, this proves that the whole interference with the election or propaganda doesn't exist. You can't change people's brains.
But that was kind of Doug Rushkoff's take, right?
Right, and it's there's no such thing as propaganda or people influencing each other. We're all independent thinkers. Advertising doesn't work. That's clearly just as a completely stupid rejection. That's the nihilism of
the lesson to take away is that things are messy.
Yes.
And you need to have some humility. You need to have some modesty. You have to use models, but they have to be done with a light touch. And I'll wrap it around to game design. Yeah. Because I'm constantly fielding calls from reporters who want to know about the psychological tricks. They get a sense that these new mobile games are hiring psychologists or using the kind of intermittent reward schedules.
It's been mentioned in some legal filings.
What how does this work? Are these the principles that are being used?
Puppeteering
applied,
players,
applied. And I'm always trying to explain to them, it's okay, a lot of that is BS, right? It's true that there are intermittent reward schedules that can hook people, but it is not true that there are formulae that you can apply to guarantee that your game is compelling, to guarantee that people will want to interact with your game. And I always try to explain to them, it's there are network effects that are psychological, but they elude our ability to capture them in a simple formula. The fact that every man on the planet used to wear a hat. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, everybody wore a hat, and then at a certain point, people stopped wearing hats. And you're not going to ever explain that with a simple formula. It is very, very complicated. It's about culture. It's about communication and nuance and identity, and the same thing is true of games. There's a lot of hats in games, right? To speak to the economics and Gabe Newell, there's a lot of hat in game, and thank God, because that's why game designers will always be important. It'll never be a formula.
There's always a little bit of intuition, a little bit of riding on a wave and feeling it out, and
something that eludes our ability to capture it in a simple formula.
Strangely, that's why game design school exists too.
Yeah, and it's really a bargain if you think about it in those terms. You can't afford not to go.
Okay, next.
What's next?
Yeah. We have more, I think, right? Oh yeah, this is The Atlantic is covering a college in Pennsylvania. I forget which one. You can scroll down a little bit.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's Harrisburg University. They have really kind of gone big on trying to get attention for their university by riding on the esports wave, and they have 25 college athletes who are good at various types of esports. I think the person in the picture is a Hearthstone player.
Free Hong Kong.
Yeah, they all get free rides to the school, and then they show up and play tournaments and wearing Harrisburg University sweatshirts. And that, for the people running Harrisburg, makes it worthwhile.
So esports, I am a big fan of esports, unlike Pokemon, actually. That's in my wheelhouse. And my take on this stuff is that giving people a scholarship to play Hearthstone is combining the worst of both worlds. It's the worst of traditional college sports with the worst of like this weird era of new media carpetbagging. You know, like it. What I think is that people should be able to major in football. I think college sports are messed up. I thought we all acknowledged this. Like, we should not be perpetuating the flawed system that produces college sports in this new era of video games as sport.
Right, where it's like, we'll pay for you to go to college. You have to go to all the other classes.
Right.
But we'll kind of let you out of class when you have to go to practice.
You're majoring in football, but you're pretending to major in computer science or poli-sci or business or something. But in reality, you should be able to major in this thing that you're devoting your life to.
Right.
Like, if you can major in dance, why can't you major in football?
I
they are
agree.
both forms of culture that are a little bit silly, but also deeply beautiful, that we care about as a community.
Yeah.
We think they're important. We value them.
They're expensive. They take an enormous amount of practice.
Why don't we acknowledge that? Why are we pretending this other thing, which is that, there's the thing that you do on the side.
Because games' role is to be the stupid part of culture.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, games are gutter culture, and long may it be so. But at the same time, part of me resists this. I don't like BS. I don't like when things are built on a foundation of, I say one thing, you know it's not true. You say it back to me, we both know it's not true. We wink at each other, we nudge at each other, and then it's like that weaving that kind of lie into the fabric, your social fabric, is how you get all of the other bad things about college sports. It's how you get someone like Sandusky. Right? That attitude where it doesn't really matter. We're not really saying the truth. We know that these people are really, concentrating on football, but we pretend they're doing liberal arts. It's like, no, they should be studying physiognomy. They should be studying the history of the design of football. They should be studying it as a business. They should be studying how to play it well. And we should be giving them credit for the time and energy and life force that they put into mastering this deeply beautiful form of culture.
There's a little bit of that now, right? With like sports management programs.
Yeah.
We're starting to get close to that. But yeah, in this article, whoever, the chancellor or somebody who's involved at Harrisburg is like, yeah, we're doing this just for the PR. They don't believe that esports has an intrinsic value. They're like, this is a moment where we can get a lot of ad impressions.
Right.
So it's really very cynical. And actually, the players being interviewed are also like, well, I'm at this moment where the fact that I'm really good at League of Legends means that I can get college scholarships, so why wouldn't I do it? But there's not really, what I didn't sense in this article was a lot of like sincere, this is actually interesting, there's a good reason to do this.
If we just changed that so that we had to be honest about what we value in Hearthstone and what we value in football, that's a step towards solving some of the problems with football.
Yeah,
like, football is not sustainable, right? Hearthstone is not sustainable, right? In different ways, right? They both have problems. We should be looking at them and saying, we care about these things. We value them as culture. We're going to let our children study them and devote their lives to them. And in the process, we're going to acknowledge the things about them that need to change and be improved.
Yeah, it would put more pressure on the design of these games. I agree. Yeah. All right. Do we have time
Frito
for
pie.
more?
See, I was told to pay more attention to chat.
Frito.
So Frito pie, apparently.
No
is...
legend here.
Yeah. What's next?
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. Yeah, let's talk about this.
Death Stranding.
Let's do the Death Stranding Roundup.
The New York Times is covering Death Stranding.
In the business section.
But here's why. They're like, wow, they sure spent a lot of money on ads.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't really explain anything about Death Stranding.
Yeah.
This reporter, who I think was at dinner with Kojima and a bunch of people, is basically like, yeah, this game's super weird. So they spent a lot on ads to convince gamers to buy it.
Yep.
Business.
Yeah.
That's the article.
Then there was the Kojima Italian thing where Kojima said Americans don't like it because there's not enough shooting.
That's the next article, I think.
Right.
Yeah, go, keep going to the dueling translations of Hideo Kojima's thoughts.
Yeah.
So this time it's not Kojima getting poorly translated from Japanese. It's being poorly translated from Italian. So an Italian newspaper interviewed him. And they were like, well, what do you think of the reviews of your game? And he was like, well, American critics are pretty divided compared to critics in Europe who are like, we love this.
Yeah.
And
he's like, Americans, they really like first-person shooters, and this is shooting higher than that, and so maybe they don't get it.
Mistranslation part.
Right.
It was the shooting higher.
But here's the thing: there's no mystery here. We all know exactly what Kojima was saying.
Of course, he's like, you guys.
And he's making a good point. And also, it's the prerogative of artists, especially pretentious divas like Kojima, to make this kind of statement.
They should. We would be disappointed if they didn't.
At least he's not like Lana Del Rey. He's not trying to get people fired. He's not calling them up and harassing them. You know what I mean? Like,
he's just like, you don't get it. And he's completely right. If you read the reviews from U.S. outlets, they're super confused about Death Stranding for like no good reason. And I think it's because there's a reactionary quality baked into trying to write reviews within game culture. Which I know maybe doesn't exist in the same way outside of the English language. Like an Italian the game reviewer, that probably doesn't have the same type of problems. But there's so many Kojima fans. They're all like, this is going to be the best thing ever. So then the haters emerge.
Right.
And then a journalist has to be like, well, how am I going to review this? Is it going to be like, the fans were vindicated, this is amazing. But the Death Stranding is too complicated and weird for them to do that. So a ton of their reviews are like, this is amazing, but also flawed, but also brilliant, but it's also boring, and that's something I can latch on to say.
Ultimately, this is not a problem with Death Stranding. This is a problem with journalism. Journalism, it's tough, and journalism itself is struggling. And I think video games are actually weirdly kind of like out ahead of journalism in this case. And
I wish New York Times had reviewed Death Stranding because they're not part of that particular fan reaction problem. Right. But no, they only are interested in writing about the business side.
Yeah, but they would have to start by saying there's a thing called video games.
Right.
And then to appreciate what's good about Death Stranding, it requires so much literacy, hyper literacy, because of the way that it is broken. Right, the Death Stranding is broken as game design, but in a way that you really appreciate if your head is in the space of like conventional game design.
Which part are you talking about as being broken?
I just think the whole thing is like
it's a janky collection of parts,
but also what makes it especially interesting are the way it deviates from good standards in game design and like expected formulas in game design. And but if you don't know what those standards are, you don't know what good design is supposed to look like, you can't really appreciate, I think, the nuances.
And that's why the reviewers are having problems, because they're like kind of beholden to fans who want to know, does this follow the good standards of game design? And they're partially also like, oh, but it's really interesting when you deviate from that.
But that's what a good critic does. What a good critic does is elevate the knowledge and the literacy of their audience. They say, listen, I know that, and here, let me explain to you why I love this. And then that helps everyone kind of like bootstrap ourselves up this mountain that we're climbing together.
I think comparing Kojima to Adam Sandler is sort of a weird gambit.
I like that article. My problem with the Adam Sandler article was that it wasn't courageous enough. It started with a little too much caveats, like, oh, I know this sounds crazy, but no, it's actually a good point. Make your point, be confident about it. I liked it. I thought it was a smart insight.
Got any more? Or we're on here
what's left?
For a few more. We have a few more minutes, right?
What's going on in chat?
Oh, this is
Beefy Butts.
This
we got
this
Kenny
one is
Rogers.
actually what Yakuza.
Shout out to Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, play this video. Play this video. Let's see.
Tight Pants.
Look at
John
this over
Boyes.
here. This is the new Yakuza 7.
Oh right, this is the new Yakuza. Yeah. What's the story here?
So the story here is this is like 180 degrees somehow from what Kojima is putting out, but just as weird. I just think it's an interesting chaser to that. This is Nancy-chan, a lobster who I guess you can summon with your phone, who has a move called Scissors of Death. And it's also a cutscene, right?
Sure. But it's a summon.
It's a summon.
Well, we know.
And so this is, again, it's in tension with like the idea of...
Oh, dear. Oh. I don't feel so good.
So this is Yakuza, and that's its style, right?
Yeah.
So this is changing the format of Yakuza games, upsetting some fans. It's a little bit different than before, but
what's the new formula?
Looks like to me like it's maybe a little bit more like a team RPG.
Okay.
But this style of humor and extreme kind of like slightly weird, exaggerated stuff with people wearing Japanese kind of garish Japanese gangster clothes, that's really the Yakuza formula, and that's kind of intact and probably what people are coming to Yakuza for. So I saw Austin Walker get really excited by this on Twitter.
Yeah,
and so I
well,
was
if Austin likes it, it's probably good.
Yeah.
That guy knows what's up.
This is one of my favorite eccentric series.
Yeah, it's great. I've never played it.
Let's
but,
keep going. If
shout out to Canada in the chat.
yes, Sonic the Hedgehog, revised look.
Oh, good. Let's end with Sonic.
Yeah, let's end with that.
I think we can all appreciate that the new Sonic is better.
Well, it's
than the
better
old
because
one.
it just looks way more like the video game.
Yeah.
It's way more like a Disney character, which is kind of where the original design was heading.
Sure.
And I don't know what they were trying to do with the other one.
Yeah.
I guess it was to sort of trying to age it up a little bit. Somebody told them like, well, what's the average age of the Sonic fan? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, there's a contingent that's 12, and then another one that's like 38. Is the
Yeah,
median age.
adult friends of Sonic. And I think
Yeah.
I can speak for all of us when I say I just don't care about the Sonic movie on any level. I preferred the Nightmare Fuel version because it was
Yeah, no,
worse.
I like the Nightmare version too.
And it's more honest about what's terrible and bad
Yeah,
about
and
Sonic,
and
which is that it's awful.
and it's for adults.
Let it go,
And just
people.
meaning like, let's make another like baby-looking Mickey Mouse
No,
character. It's
no.
like, okay, that's an easy way out, but who cares?
I want the old Sonic to eat the new Sonic.
Yeah, just like a cannibal, just.
And if you make a deep fake of that, I will Venmo you $5.
Yeah, there, you've heard it here first.
You heard it?
$5
The old
for
Sonic
old
eating the new Sonic, and I want
to.
to see it bloody like that lobster.
I think that we can
Yeah.
wrap it up there.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Everybody.
Right.
Peace. See you, chat.
See you guys later.
Sorry. All right. Thank you so much, Frank and Naomi. And just want to intro our next segment now. It's we always like to every week we want to feature some student member of our Game Center community. So this week we have Chris Kindred. Hello,
What's
Chris.
up? How's it going?
Let me strap my mic on. But while I'm setting up, do you want to intro yourself?
Sure, yeah. My name is Chris Kindred. I am a second year here at NYU Game Center, and before that, I worked as an editorial illustrator. I guess I still do. And making games is kind of just another tool I'm throwing on top of the millions of things I feel like I'm doing.
Cool. Let's maybe do you want to look at your portfolio
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit and show folks what
Sure.
kind of the art and stuff that you do?
Sure, yeah. Can they see right now? Oh, sick.
Yeah, they can.
Nice. So let's see. We're gonna go here. I have done some work with Vice. This is some work that I've done with Motherboard.
Do you want to embiggen it?
Yeah,
for
let's
the
go ahead
stream?
and get some embiggening happening. Content warning for genitalia.
Okay.
This is about an emulator called Nesticle. This was written about on Motherboard, and I created a feature illustration for it, for the story. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. And let's see, I've recently done some work for the New York Times. Actually, this was my very first piece for the Times.
Oh, nice.
I had this was about bicycles, like bike laws interacting with car laws in Mexico City. And yeah, I had maybe 3-4 hours to do this tops.
Oh my god.
From sketch to concept, the way editorial illustrations work, specifically with newspapers like the Times, you get a call at maybe noon, like, hey, we need this. Are you available? That's when you scramble to your laptop and scramble to your email and be like, yes, because you
Of
see.
course I'm available.
Exactly. I love
Give
getting
me money.
That's exactly it. Love getting paid, so I'm gonna do it. And then you go through your sketches, basically prototype the illustration, make a few different versions, and then you work on a final in as little time as possible. I think this is probably the most extreme version. This is about, this was right on the heels of Charlottesville, and white nationalism was a major topic in the news. And so this was a very, very quick turnaround, maybe 3-hour piece on activists stepping up against white nationalism. And I have pivoted to games.
Ooh.
This is a project I'm particularly proud of. It's called Midnight Market, and it is a potion brewing narrative adventure.
How do we zoom in?
A little control
Let's zoom
situation.
in on that.
But yeah, it runs like this, and you basically talk to your customers. Your customers, by the way, are regulars of the store, and let's see, how would I explain it? you are taking over after your grandmother passes. And you basically inherit all her regulars and then talk with them about your grandmother, kind of eulogizing it. And the team I worked on knocked it out of the park.
Nice. In the chat, Salty Horse wants to know, how'd you get into becoming a illustrator for editorials and getting calls for work and stuff?
Sure, yeah. Back in 2015, I remember making an email account. And I was like, okay, this is going to be my work email. And every single, so let me rewind a little bit. Whenever you are, I guess, querying potential clients, you send out an email like, hey, this is who I am, this is my portfolio. You might isolate some images that are especially relevant to the publication. And you're like, I would love to work with you. And then you wait. In some cases, days, months, hours, years, it really is up to the whim of the client. Like, if you can go back to,
Oh yeah,
this was for NPR.
this one.
Actually, one more. Yeah, this one was for NPR, and this was a couple years after I first queried. Like, hey, I would love to work with you all, and then I ended up working there, and then after that, I kind of had to start that process over again, just because like the news cycle is short, right? Like memories within the news cycle is short. So you kind of always have to stay on the radar and constantly email potential clients, specifically people who you want to work with and whose work you can see in their publication.
So I think it's super interesting how you have like a career and a background as like an illustrator, a pro illustrator, working for all these publications, and now you're like transitioning to games, right? Like,
Yeah.
how's that feel for you?
It is one of the hardest things I've ever done, largely because a lot of visual media, it's intuitive, and a lot of it is kind of just adjusting elements until they look and feel right. Games has been, at least to start out with, a more mathematical process. And I mean, I stopped learning math at Algebra 2. Thank you, Virginia
Didn't we
public
all?
school system, right?
God bless the U.S. public schools, right?
Big fan. So learning, having not touched math for over a decade before coming back into anything math related like programming, it was kind of jarring at first. And yeah, a lot of my practice so far has been finding ways to circumvent my lack of code knowledge.
Right. So like, one way to do that is to like learn code and do all that stuff, and another way to do that is to collaborate with folks, right? So this is a group project you did, right?
Sure, yeah. This was our final for Game Studio. Game Studio 1. And let's see, we had to make a physics game, and it was pretty straightforward here. We were using one of Bennett Foddy's games as a reference, and we ended up making a fencing/cooking game called Shea Epee.
Nice. Oh my God! And then when the mask falls off, that's
Yeah.
scary. But today you'd wanted to show us some text-based work that you made, right?
Yes.
So coming out to Bob Ross Simulator, do you want to intro this for us a little bit?
Sure thing. This is the first game in my Patreon that features narrative games. Basically, I give my patrons a narrative game a month, usually exploring some different kind of narrative system, or just telling a concise story using, like, centering games as a media. So, Robert, what you're gonna help me make these choices.
Okay, sounds
All right.
good.
So, you find yourself in a black void, no ceiling, no floor, no walls to surround you. You don't quite remember how you got here, but that's not important. What is important, however, is that Bob Ross is here.
Oh,
Naturally,
he's with us.
naturally, he's painting a landscape, narrating each stroke to what might be an off-screen void. You can't make it out for sure. So you're gonna take your palette knife and just...
Wait, should I be Bob Ross? Should we do different voices?
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
with a sun flick of his wrist, the tool scrapes color across a primed canvas, suddenly producing a mountain. He does do that.
Yeah.
Even a few years in art school hasn't desensitized you to how much of a magician he seems to be. you put that out of mind.
I don't know why his name is showing up.
You don't know what exactly you're here for, but you feel compelled to approach him.
I actually just found the bug that leaves Bob Ross's name
no, it's
during the
okay.
general narration, but whatever.
Should you be speaking it then?
How about you be Bob Ross?
Okay.
And I'll be the narrator.
Okay.
You have something to say.
Oh gosh, should we walk away or approach? Oh gosh. Okay, so right now, we're in another dimension, and
Yes.
Bob Ross is here. I'm just trying to role play here. I feel like I would be desperate to cling on to my humanity, so I would approach him, I think, right?
You kind of have to, yeah. You walk up to Mr. The Joy of Painting himself, welling up with anticipation, anxiety even. You stop just shy of his personal space. He's facing away from you, but you trust that you're within earshot. As he narrates his painting, you notice something familiar about him. The way his forearms tense when he makes a line, the nimbleness of his weathered fingers when he turns his brush, it all reminds you of your grandfather. Someone you can hardly dream of telling what you have to say to. But fuck it, whether this moment is real or not, you might as well get it off your chest.
Oh gosh. Okay, so Bob Ross, or in the chat, we're now calling him Rob Ross. 'Cause that's me, I guess. Robert Ross. Oh god. Okay, so should we say ... so ... or look, Bob? I feel like we shouldn't be too brusque with him because he hasn't done anything to us, right?
He's just chilling.
That seems uncalled for. So I feel like I'd be nervous, right? I'd say like so.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's give that a shot. So, this is weird. This whole situation is weird, actually, but this moment is weird especially. You're not my family, but for some reason, I trust you with this info about me. You weren't the person who taught me how to hunt, fish, build stuff, or what being a man is all about. But I feel like I can tell you that I don't fit in those molds. Not anymore, anyway. You're unsure he's even listening, but you've already spoken up.
Oh gosh. I mean.
All right. You continue. I mean, it's not like it's that much of a surprise. I mean, Cousin Sheen clocked me immediately at that one Christmas party. Bob Ross offers you no response, not even a glance. He does, however, have more painting tips.
And we're going to use our fan brush to just fill in these branches. I love branches. We can learn a lot from these little buddies. So do just like them and go out on limb. That's where the fruit is. Oh, it's a metaphor. It's the painting is us, right?
You're not sure if you're the fruit he's referring to or if you're just projecting. Whatever, you continue.
Oh gosh. Fair warning, I guess?
I know you're an open-minded dude, so you know this changes nothing about the me you know. Consider it like a fair warning when I bring a dude around during the holidays.
And right here, we're just going to gently work the paint around the canvas like this. Look at that. Isn't that the fluffiest snow you've ever seen? Makes you want to just huddle up with that special somebody. It's good to keep your loved ones close by. Did you do a lot of research for this? Did you watch a lot of Bob Ross to try to get his voice?
I kept a lot of Bob in the background, and I did what's that site? Good Quotes or like Brainy Quotes? Either way, there's a site of just Bob Ross quotes, and I'm like, all right. I made myself a neural network and trained myself on things Bob Ross would say. Whether he can hear you or not, this gives you the last little bit of confidence you needed to continue.
Oh gosh.
You've been in my life from the start, and I want to keep it that way. And that includes keeping you up on things about me. I mean, I've said everything I could. I just hope you could acknowledge that. A silence fills the air, save for the occasional brush scratching on the canvas.
Why is Bob Ross being like this? Why can't Bob Ross comfort us? And with that, you're going to rinse that brush off, and he clangs his brush against the easel.
Oh, yeah.
Like that?
It's more like...
Oh wait. Yeah, that's like a
thing.
painty thing you do, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you do with paintbrushes. Okay. just beat the devil out of it. Oh my God! Wait, why is he getting violent?
That's a direct quote.
Wait, what? He
He
does that with the brush.
Just beat the devil out of it. You gotta imagine everything he says with like a little bit of panache.
Okay.
You take your eyes off the commotion he's making, and you see what he's been working on. A snowy mountain landscape with a clearing flanked by a dense forest. A cabin rests nestled in the wood line. In the clearing, 2 impossibly tall pines planted close together.
How about you give me a hand with this one?
And that's the game.
You find yourself in a and it just
Yeah.
loops over?
Yeah.
Wait, so we can never really escape? Or is it supposed to loop? Or
It's not supposed to loop.
Okay.
But yeah.
But it can loop.
It can loop. I guess if you use your imagination, this is just an endless cycle of coming out to Bob Ross. Yeah, that's the game.
But Bob Ross seemed pretty supportive just now,
Yeah.
I think, right?
He's pretty chill. I think this will probably come at odds with who Bob Ross actually is, but the Bob Ross that I grew up on watching TV, and that a lot of my friends recognize. They're like, yeah, he's just such a comforting dude. I feel like I can tell him anything. And one of my friends was just like, yeah, I feel like I can come out to him. And I'm like, you have a point. And then I kind of like took myself down that route and not hypothetically, but I wrote out 3 hypothetical scenarios, almost like the same speech 3 times in 3 different tones. And this game came out.
Nice. I think it's a really interesting choice considering that you're using fungus, which is usually used for like visual novels and stuff. But there's no picture of there's no Bob Ross like portrait popping up or anything. Like why'd you do that?
I can't 3D model really well yet.
Or you could have drawn Bob Ross.
I could have.
Right?
I could have. I also wanted to keep things within scope because this is basically a narrative exercise that I work on in the off hours during the month. So whenever I'm not working on Game Center assignments, I fit in some stuff here, and text is the most direct way to generate content for this game. However, there is the Joy of Painting theme playing in the background. Maybe the audience at home can hear it, but yeah, the music is probably the biggest.
Oh no, it's not working. The audience at home cannot hear the music, unfortunately.
Well, just imagine the theme song to the Joy of Painting while playing this.
Oh, nice. In the chat, people point out that it's nice to be able to just visualize Bob Ross in like your mind's eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what's important, and that's what's actually going on, right? If we are coming out to Bob Ross, so to speak.
Sure, yeah. Actually, that's what I leaned into toward the end of this game, where I was like, okay, I could choose to represent him, but that does add a little bit more voice. That adds, like seeing the hand of an artist alters tone in a certain way. And I wanted to keep things as universal as possible within the constraints that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Nice. Well, should we play some more of? Do you have anything else we might want to play, or what else should we do now? we have 10 more minutes, or we can just end if you'd prefer to end on this note.
I do have an appointment with the professor coming up.
Okay,
so.
Sure. Okay, so let's just let's go to your Patreon maybe, and
yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so this is your Patreon, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about how it's structured and stuff?
Sure thing, yeah. It is, like I said, it is a narrative game a month. You usually get maybe 5-10 minute tops game, something really small and experimental. And it comes in 2 tiers. One, if you just want to show your support, which is vastly appreciated, and another $5 tier, you get the game and a small postmortem that goes up.
Oh, and a biscuit. How do we get a biscuit?
Well,
do you mail it, order media mail? How do we? Okay.
I just send it in an envelope, really.
or pick up. It's a metaphorical biscuit, I imagine.
It's
right?
a biscuit of knowledge.
Those are the best biscuits.
Yeah,
I really like those biscuits. Okay, so you heard it here, right? Please help your local game design students.
Oh my god.
New York City, yeah, look at how empty that wallet is. New York City is very expensive, and NYU doesn't quite help with the expense of New York City, so
It costs money to breathe up here, let me tell you.
we charge for oxygen here by the minute or by the ounce. So yeah, please consider supporting some of our students.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, so I guess that's it. I could interview more, but you have an appointment to go to,
Yeah.
so that's okay. All right, well, in the meantime, thank you so much to everyone for joining us for these past 2 hours. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Frank and Naomi. Thank you to Liz showing us all that Doom stuff earlier. And also thank you to Gwen and Tony for telling us about sports, which are apparently the best games.
Big fan of sports. Well, I used to be a big fan of sports. I'm a recovering sports fan.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, and lastly, thank you to everyone in the chat for watching and hanging out with us. Let's cut to the credits. I was your director host, Robert Yang. The news co-host is Naomi Clark. Operator behind the scenes is Julia Delmato. Graphics are by Winnie Song. And our captioning is done by Mirabai Knight of Steno Night Cart Services. Thank you everyone for joining us and have a good rest of your day. Bye.